There are 5 sentences that most adult children would say to their parents if they felt safe enough to say them, and almost none of these things will ever actually be spoken out loud. Not because adult children don't love their parents, but because saying them feels too risky. They worry it will start a fight, hurt their parents' feelings, or change the relationship in a way that cannot be taken back. So instead, these thoughts get carried quietly inside, sometimes for decades, and the gap between what your adult child feels and what they actually say slowly turns into a kind of distance neither of you can quite explain. If you want to understand what your grown child is really thinking, the 5 things you're about to hear are usually where to start. Sentence 1. I'm not the same person I was at 15, and I wish you could see that. Most adult children quietly wish to be seen as the person they are now, not the version of themselves their parents remember raising. Even when an adult child is in their 30s or 40s with their own career, their own family, and their own opinions, many parents continue to give advice and react to situations as if they were still talking to a teenager. The adult child notices every time it happens, but rarely says anything, because they don't want to seem ungrateful or oversensitive. When parents are able to make that small shift and to ask their grown children questions instead of giving them instructions, the whole tone of the relationship often begins to change. Sentence 2. I forgave you a long time ago, but forgiving you isn't the same as forgetting. Forgiving a parent and being able to fully trust them again are 2 very different things, and most adult children quietly know this even when they never say it out loud. Your adult child may have genuinely forgiven you for the harder moments in their childhood, but forgiveness does not erase the memory, and it does not automatically rebuild the trust that was lost in those moments. Trust is rebuilt slowly through years of consistent behavior, not through a single conversation where things were finally talked through. So when your adult child seems a little guarded with you, even after you thought everything had been resolved, it is usually because the forgiveness is real, but the trust is still being put back together one small interaction at a time. They are not punishing you, they are just being careful. Sentence 3. I learned to take care of you before I knew how to take care of myself. This one is often the heaviest for parents to hear because it touches on a role reversal that often began long before anyone realized it was happening. If you went through difficult years as a parent, whether that was a hard marriage, financial stress, illness, or a long period of depression, your child often picked up on it long before you realized they could. And in many homes, children quietly start to manage their parents' emotions, trying to keep things calm and to be the easy one so that nothing else has to be carried by their parents. When that child grows up, they often arrive at adulthood already tired from a role they should never have had to play. That's why some adult children find phone calls draining even when nothing went wrong on the call. The job of looking after a parent is still living somewhere inside them, even when no one is asking them to do it anymore. Sentence 4. I love you, and I still need distance from you sometimes. Most adult children deeply feel this, but almost never put it into words. And that's because love and closeness are not actually the same thing. Parents often read distance as a problem to be fixed, or as a sign that something has gone wrong in the relationship. But for most adult children, distance is not about something being broken. It is about needing room to be a separate person, with their own life, their own routines, and their own private world. When your adult child does not call as often as you'd like, or takes a few days to reply to a message, it is rarely because they have stopped loving you. The love is steady. The bandwidth is not. And when parents are able to receive distance without taking it personally, adult children almost always begin to reach out more freely on their own. Sentence 5. I am waiting for you to be the one who goes first. This is the one that carries the most weight of all because it's about who is meant to break the silence between you and who has been quietly waiting for the other to go first. Most adult children are waiting, sometimes for years, for their parent to be the first one to open a difficult conversation, to ask the real question, or to acknowledge something that has been sitting between them for a long time. They are not waiting to be stubborn. They are waiting because they spent their childhood being the one who had to manage the relationship. And somewhere along the way, they decided that as adults, the responsibility for reaching first needed to belong to the parent. When a parent finally says something like, "I've been thinking about how that must have affected you," it almost always lands far deeper than the parent expects, because it tells the adult child that you noticed, that you are willing to go first, and that they no longer have to carry the whole weight of the relationship on their own. None of these 5 sentences are accusations, and none of them mean that the relationship between you and your adult child is broken. They are simply the quiet things that most adult children feel, but rarely find a safe way to say. The good news is that you do not need your adult child to actually say any of these out loud in order to act on them. You can soften the relationship just by understanding that these truths are most likely sitting somewhere underneath the surface. You can choose to be the one who reaches first. You can ask better questions and listen for longer before you respond. You can give your grown child the gift of being seen as the adult they have become, rather than the child you remember raising. That is usually how the distance starts to close, not in one big conversation, but in many small moments where your adult child slowly realizes that you are willing to meet them where they are now. If this video resonated with you, the one on the 6 signs that an adult child may be preparing to cut a parent off picks up exactly where this one ends, and it is linked in the description.